Hi, welcome to SQL Bits. I'm Pratika Masani, and today I'm talking about Power BI reports, designs, tips, and tricks. So let's get into the session. So, um, so as I said, I'll be talking about report design tips and tricks. Before I start the session, a bit about me. I'm Pratika Masani. I work as a Power Platform consultant at Altius, and which has been recently acquired by Avanade. So I work for Altius and Avanade here in London. I'm a Microsoft Valuable Professional. I am really thankful, happy, and honorable to be part of this great group. I run London Power BI user group with my friends. So in this pandemic time, we are actually running virtual events. So wherever you are, whoever you are, please join us. Google London Power BI user group, and you will find our next events. And if you have any questions with this session or about the user group, or if you just want to be in touch, those are my contact details. So let's look at the agenda for today. So in this session, I will be talking about various concepts related to report design and there's some tips and tricks around a report design. So I won't be talking about how to create a data model, or how to make your model run faster, how to do amazing DAX and things like that. But all the things I will be focusing on are the various design principles and design-oriented concepts. And some of the things I learned during my experience while I'm creating the Power BI reports, and some of the things I learned by reading some blogs, books, and stuff like that. And among the entire session, you will have lots of resources, lots of tips, and lots of tricks. So let's get into the first topic, which is the color. So whenever we talk about data visualizations or data storytelling, we always talk about basically we talk about numbers with shapes. And we kind of forget there is the other thing which we also forget is, or probably don't talk much about is, but which is very important, is the color. Color makes adds a lot of importance to these numbers which has shapes. And not only color, which is an important thing, but there is size, which is important, and the distribution, which is important. But for everything, color is a key. Color adds value. And that is why when you're creating data visualizations, data stories, or reporting pages, or dashboards, color and the choosing the color palette is very, very important. So most of the times when we, as a like me as a consultant, when I go to client and go to customers, most of the times you'll have company branding. And when you have company branding, it's pretty easy. You just use your company branding. And not always you have guidelines like, what color to choose where, when, and things like that. That's when it's very important to understand the color theory and what to do with your color. That helps you create your good reports. So, if you don't have company branding, there are many websites where you could go and grab a palette, or you could create your own palettes. But again, understanding the color theory helps you to choosing those right colors. So that's why I've created a couple of points talking about um, color theory. So my first point is choosing the right colors. Choosing the right colors is very important when you're talking about when we're doing the Power BI reports, is because right colors gives you the choice is like, I mean, obviously that is it's the whole thing, the whole color theory is about choosing the right colors. But when I say choosing the right colors is like always try to borrow the right colors from the nature, because nature is a great example, and we are, as humans, we are already very familiar with nature. So using the nature, it's borrow from the nature when you're choosing the colors. And um, and always, when you're choosing the colors in your reports, choose the colors, focus on your foreground and the background. So foreground and the background is very, very important. So whatever the reports you use, whatever the reports, whatever the visualizations you're creating, try to create the lighter backgrounds. So especially in Power BI, it's very important. Is like, when you have like a amazingly colorful background or very dark backgrounds or various colors in the background, it doesn't really look nicer. So, for example, if you look at this visual, it's like you have this background, which is, yeah, it's nice. I like it, chocolate sprinkles, but it's very disturbing. And so that's why I try to use, well, even may not be that kind of a super colorful, but even like some dark backgrounds as well. It's not always recommended for various reasons, because using the light backgrounds are more clearer and more nicer to look at. So try to use the light color backgrounds, but if you are using dark backgrounds like I do, when I'm with customers, I use light backgrounds, but when I'm playing with the different type of data, I like using dark backgrounds because they look sleek. So if you are using dark backgrounds, use light colors as your foreground so that way user can read well. And whenever you're creating any visual, remember, like, try to create your visual by using white, black, and gray before you adding any other colors. So that way, you don't overload your visuals with too many colors. This is something like, I've read somewhere, it's like they say every single art or like every single sketch or things, you basically, there are two colors that you need is black and white. That's it. And then you add color. But when it comes to visualization, I say like maybe add gray first and then add different colors is because that's where it kind of helps you. And don't use too many colors. Like, if you look at this example again, we have the very bad background and then we have a foreground with so many colors. It's just not great visual. And like, but if you are, okay, if you have data where you have so many categories and if you have to use different colors, maybe try to look for a different point. Like, is there anything else that I could use instead of choosing the category as a legend? Maybe instead of using a legend, I could probably use value. And if I want to differentiate, maybe use like, format the based on the size or whatever the value I'm showing. That way I could control, it looks a much uh, better compared to the previous one. And then use the very well balanced color scheme. So whenever you're creating so in the UX world, when it comes to the designing, using the balanced color thing, like, there is a rule called 60-30-10 rule. So 60-30-10 rule is very good because so that way you have your neutral color where 60% of your color is neutral and 30% of color is complementary and your 10% is your accent color. So in the data visualization world, is your accent color is your highlighting color. It's like, whatever you want your users to focus on, that is your accent color. So use the 10% to tell the story. And this is a very good way to approach when you're creating your big report page. I'll show you more examples about the 60-30-10 rule where in the next point. And when in doubt, use blue or green. So as I mentioned earlier, is like a borrow from nature. So we have blue is a universal color. We are very familiar with blue, and that is why when you look at many organizations, like, they use blue. Like for example, Facebook, Twitter, PayPal. There are many organizations which use blue because we are all used to blue. And when I said about 60-30-10 rule, this is a very good example talking about 60-30-10 rule because as you can see, there is a 60% of light color and then blue on the top, and 10% of green, which is it may not be exactly 10%, but I'm just giving that as an example. It's like, that is your highlighting color. So when you're creating your data visualizations or your reporting pages as well, try to create this way so it gives it tells the story nicely. And never use only one color to convey your messages. It's it's never nice to use just one color to convey the message. For example, if you look at this example, what you have here is on the left, I'm using green and red to highlight, like, whatever wrong. But if I have in my users, if there are somebody who has color blindness, then that on the right, that's how they are going to see. So this is a good example when you're creating Power App pages, or like even in Power BI, when you're using color coding or font colors and things like that. Don't just use color to convey the message. Use text or indicators or things like that. So it's like you're not just using color to highlight the most important information. And then use a single color to represent the same type of the data. So for example, if you look at this example, what we have here is I have on the top, I have two visuals where I'm showing February, I'm highlighting February and May, and I'm using color blue and maroon. And by the time I come to my bottom visual, because I cannot read my labels well, the only thing I would see is, okay, blue is my February and maroon is my May, and that is how I interpret. So this way, it's not conveying the message, and it's confusing for the users. So always use same single color to represent the same type of data, and also focus on the contrast. I'll come back to the contrast in a sec. And the other thing also important to remember is consider the positive and the negative numbers. Again, positive and the negative numbers is also something when you are having them on the table, it's hard. When you have a very long table, it's very easy to miss it. But if you actually highlight them, like, in a very subtle way by using font colors, or bold way, like by using background colors or anything, try to highlight positive and negative. If that is something that you want, if that is something important for users, then highlight them. And as I mentioned, check contrast. If we look at the same example that we saw before, if you check the contrast, actually, even though we made a mistake with our kind of colors we are going for, having the contrast helps us to read it well. So always check the contrast when you're choosing the colors. And use gray wherever possible. Use your gray. Gray is your best friend. Gray helps you highlight things really, really well. Especially, this is a great example. This is not a data visualization example, but I really like this example. I think it shows the power of gray. But when we're talking about data visualization, so this is something I really like. Um, is like they're using gray everywhere, and then they have a highlighting color. And so even though there is a lot of data, a lot of information, many visuals, different type of fonts and all those things, still it looks great. It's really sleek, and it serves a purpose. And that's happening because I have gray. If I use any other color, like, obviously I cannot use white because that doesn't differentiate, but like any other color doesn't give the same value, like gray. So make gray your best friend, and use color to highlight the most important information. So color is not there just to add color to your life, well, not to your life, to your report, but color is there to highlight a value, to tell a story. Use color to highlight a value. And use tools. There are many tools available out there, and this is my favorite tool called I Want Hue. Why I like this tool is, like, I could go here. First of all, I have various palettes, presets available. And then once I have my preset, I could give what as many categories I want, and then click on the make a palette. And it makes a palette for me, and it also shows, like, like in nice clusters. And it gives me all the color codes, like, the hex values and various other ways as well. And then this is what I really like is like it gives me, like, nice foreground and background. So, for example, if I look at this one, this is a really nice way to show foreground and background. So that way, I won't make the mistake of like, choosing the wrong colors and choosing the wrong foreground and the background. So that's why I really like this. I really like this one when it comes to the visuals. And then so yeah, use tools when wherever possible. There are various other tools that are available as well. And then so once you understand your colors, once you know how to play with your colors, that's when you could create your color palettes. Is color palettes is you once you create your color palette, even if you have the company branding, you know where what are the possibilities, like even in the existing color branding of your organization, what color to use, because you could use the concepts we've seen so far and decide on what colors to use in your report. And if you don't have existing guidelines, and if you're not using the color branding, you find the natural patterns of the colors. It's like you can find natural patterns everywhere around you and see where you can always get inspired from natural patterns around you. And always use color is color. Remember, color is to add value. It is not just to add color to your visuals or to your reports. It is to add value. Of course, color makes your reports really beautiful and amazing, but remember that is not only the purpose of the color. And once you have the color, the next thing, once you have your color palette, and the next important thing to remember is you could create themes in Power BI. I always get surprised is like how many people actually don't use themes when they're in their reporting design point of view. It's because themes is great because themes helps you control your look and feel of your Power BI files. That is like a def uh, textbook definition, but it actually helps you control the consistency among all the reports. So creating themes is there are various ways you could create themes, but so for example, if I go here, this is I already have a dark theme here, but I could go to view and go here and choose make it light, and there you go. Now I have a theme. I changed my theme, and that it reflects all the pages in this report. It doesn't reflect only this one. And if I want, I could go here and I could customize my current theme. I could give a name to the theme and I could choose different colors. Not only colors, but I could also go and choose the text or visuals, and I could choose every visual I want a border and I want to make it really red. And so I'll apply it. And then when I see, there you go, that's a really bad choice to do, but it gives you everything gets a background. And once I'm happy with my theme, I could go and save the theme, save current theme. That saves the current theme, and then I could save it to I could save it to a folder, and later I could use in the whatever the Power BI files I create using in my organization. So Power BI themes helps you keep that consistency in your files. So the if you want, you could use the themes, create themes in the Power BI, or you could use there are various themes available on the themes gallery. You can open the themes gallery within the Power BI desktop as well, or there are you could go to Power BI tips, Power BI dot tips, and from the I want hue, you could copy your colors, paste them in the Power BI tips, and create a theme file. Once you create your theme file, you can just import into your Power BI. We'll talk more about why the importing and all those things are useful in a bit. And the next thing I want to talk about is the report layouts, background emojis, and the icons. So before I talk about report layout, I actually want you to think about report format, and report page size. So, um, so how I look at when it comes to the whenever I'm creating the reports is like what kind of report format I'm going for. Your report format defines which layout you should go for. So in general, there are, in my view, I feel like there are two types of report formats. One is data visualizations and the infographic. In data visualizations, there are two more types, is conceptual and the operational. So when we look at the conceptual and the operational, is conceptual is for users to understand the data. You just give the glance view of it. And for operational is where it's for data analysts, for the data analysis purposes, where user would go to find their questions and answers and more information about like a data and things like that. And then we have the infographic view where you provide a view of data and the that gives survey results or like a number of injuries. It's really good examples when we're talking about infographic. And why it is very important is because of your user. Is, for example, you have an exec who is asking for a report, asking for injuries, and if you give your exec a operational report, that means your exec has to click on one click, two click, three click, four click, and then finally she or he goes to the value they wanted to see. And probably exec won't like it. What they want is more like a dashboard layout or infographic layout, or or you give your a business user who already know what values she wants to see, and if you give them operational again, like probably they won't like it. Probably what they want to do is they want to compare different buildings, like how many injuries were happening in one building A and building B, that kind of comparison. So that's when it's conceptual data, where you probably create different tabs and you give the bit of interactivity. In the infographic, maybe you just give some slices where they could probably you probably don't provide anything, no interactivity. All your data is already populated in a nicely layout. And operational is where you have various, that's where probably we use concepts like functionalities like buttons, bookmarks, and all those things. I know all these functionalities are amazing, but if the user is not somebody who wants to do four clicks to go to get to get the data, then probably you should not use those functionalities. So that's something to remember. I'll give you some of the examples. So for example, this is a really good example when we are talking about the analysis, is because the what we're giving here is user can go on, click on various things, and then again click on various other things, and that gives them more information, whatever they're interested in. They could user can drill down and drill through. They could slice and dice the data. You could do like there are filters, so many slices, and like various things that the user can do. And when we look at this example, this is like infographic layout. What we're giving the user is like, first of all, we are giving a scrollable layout. And then, even though this is an infographic layout, we are adding a bit of interactivity, is where user can switch between different tabs, different options, different slices, and things like that. And then we have another layout. Again, this is an infographic layout. But here, what we are doing is we are not giving those many slices and things. We are limiting number of slices we are providing the user. And I have like a couple more examples that I could show. Is like so this is a good example that I created recently. Like, this is again a very good example when you want to do it for when you're sharing it to users where you already pre-created everything. For example, here we created labels. So this is when you're creating infographic kind of views or dashboard kind of view, you create nice labels so user understands. And even whatever the interactivity we add, we also try to keep it minimal. And also the whole navigation, we make it user friendly. So this is where the layouts are very important, and you need to remember those layouts before you choose which way you want it to go. Once you know which report layout you're going for, then you could use tools like a PowerPoint or Canva, or things like that to create your layouts. So PowerPoint is a great example when you're creating the layout. Is You could just drag and drop different shapes and save it as a picture, or you could even and later you could use that picture, or you could use tools like Canva. It's my favorite tool. And you could go to Canva, you could create a nice layout by using the pre-built templates, and you could use those whatever the images you downloaded from them. You could go to Power BI, and you could go to visualizations and click on the little paint button, go to background, page background, and this is where you could use import that image into Power BI. Um, so creating the layouts is not only available in the, not only background images. You could actually create layouts within the Power BI as well. So for example, here what I'm doing is I'm using two shapes. I have two shapes, and then I grouped those two shapes into a group by right click by control clicking on them, and then that way is what I have now is I have a layout within the Power BI. Chris Hamill from Power BI Cat Team, he wrote a really good blog post about how having different shapes and different things in your canvas, like on your in your Power BI, adds impacts on the performance. So for example, in this page, having two shapes, it doesn't impact really. But if you have like a 20 shapes or 50 shapes or so many shapes, every single thing you put on the canvas impacts your performance. So it's a rule of thumb that we need to remember. So decide where to create. Creating the background image is nicer, is because it's like, you already created it, you already created, and you created once and you don't have to repeat it. But having the background image means it doesn't give you the flexibility. Is It controls, like, suddenly you decided you keep a visual here, and you decided, oh no, that visual doesn't serve the purpose, I want to create another visual. And then if you having the background image means it's kind of you're restricted, so you have to go back and create a background image. So that's when it's like time consuming. So using shapes, that's when using the shapes within the Power BI is quite nice and useful. But yeah, it's you need to think what works and what doesn't work. um, so so yeah, as I mentioned, there are various things available out there to create the shapes. So there are some pros and cons when we're talking about background images. The pros, it is great. It transforms the look and feel of your report in one click, and but the main things is it helps to maintain the consistency among all the reports. So when you're creating, as an organization, you create so many Power BI reports, and having the background images, that means all your reports looks similar. So it doesn't confuses the user, and it helps to maintain the corporate branding. It's a very good way to maintain the branding. And the same for background images, you can use them in the Power Apps as well. So that way your Power Apps and Power BI looks absolutely same, which is great. The only con, in my perspective, by using the background images is it's not great for mobile layout. So it's not only for background images, even if you use the shapes, it's exactly same thing. Actually, it's pretty bad for shapes. It's because when you in the mobile layout, if I'm not wrong, it's like it's all white. And if you're using, for example, if you're using the dark background and you changed your font colors to white, when you put the same visual in the mobile, then you cannot see anything because everything is white. So when it comes to mobile layout, it's a different ball game. So just remember, be mindful, and a long time ago, I wrote a blog post about mobile layout. Probably give it a read. But yeah, just be mindful whenever you're using whatever the layout you're going for, be mindful about the mobile layout. And the other thing which helps really transforms your visuals is the by using icons. As I showed the example about sales, where I have like a little label and a little icon. And so those icons add so much value to your storytelling. So use icons wherever possible. Again, but if you use wherever possible, it adds it impacts on the performance. So just be mindful, don't add too much, not too less, somewhere in between. And that's a really good website to get so many icons. Or you could use PowerPoint to create your icons, and you could use them as like a buttons background, or you can underlay buttons by using these icons, or you could use them as key metrics backgrounds or stuff like that. So yeah, icons are great, and PowerPoint is a great way to do it. So once you created your color palette, and by using the color palette, once you created your Power BI themes, and once you created your background images, once you know all your layouts and all those things, that's when Power BI templates comes handy. Power BI templates is a great way to save all the hard work you've done so far. Is Because what Power BI template does is it exports the definition of the report, not the data. So, for example, if I go back to my Power BI desktop, and here I go to File, I click on Save As, and this is where I have a different type, which is PBIT. So this saves my file as a Power BI template file. And so only my report definition has been saved. So, which means next time, and when I want to create a new report, I won't have to do everything from the scratch. I could just open my Power BI template file that has the all the things related to, like, my theme is there, my background images are there, all the icons I wanted, everything is all there. So I don't have to do redo all the work. And this is a very good way to, again, to maintain the corporate branding, and useful to share the model without the data. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is a very useful way to share the model. And it's a great way to maintain the organizational templates. And it's also very quick. It makes your report generation really quick. Because you don't have to do all the groundwork again and again. There are various websites available where you have the free templates or paid templates. But PowerBI.tips is something which is really good, and you could go there and you could get their templates, and you're good to go. And the next thing, once we have all these design elements ready, the next important thing is the choosing the right visual. So choosing the right visual is like, I'm not going to go through every single visual available in Power BI because we have so many visuals. But what I'm going to talk about is a few my go-to resources when it comes to the choosing the right visuals. So my favorite one is Data to Viz. Why I like this one is it starts with your type of category, what kind of data you have. So I have category or number and category, and then it asks me like how many, one number, one category, one number, several, one category, several numbers. And for example, I can hover over and it gives me a bit of examples, like, what kind of data I have there. And then I can click on the visual that I'm interested in, and that gives me a way to see, is like the important thing I really like about is the common mistakes. Is it actually highlights the common mistakes that I could do by going for this scatter plot. So this helps me to understand various visuals. And by going to this website over and over, what it gives me is like it kind of I understand visuals better. Next time I see that kind of category of data, I know exactly which visual to go for. So that's why this is my favorite website when I wanted to go for the visuals. And the next one is FT Visual Vocabulary. FT visual vocabulary is again similar pattern. You have various different type of categories of data, and then you can choose what type of data you have, and you can click on ranking. There you go, you have more information. This is not overloaded or like a not more information, but this is created by Financial Times. So if anyone who follows Financial Times, if you don't follow Financial Times, then I would totally recommend you to follow. Their visualizations are great, and it's great inspiration. You can learn a lot, and also you can learn news as well. But as a data visualization person, FD visuals are amazing. And it's this thing is created by this vocabulary has been created by them, so it's really good. And then we have a Power BI example based on the FT visual vocabulary created by Jason. Jason works for Microsoft, and he's like a he's very active member of the SQL community and data community. So is he nicely created a Power BI model which is available on the gallery, on the data storage gallery. So this example gives you the exactly what you wanted to see in when you are when you're doing the Power BI reports, like exactly what visuals are available when you are in the when you're in Power BI. Um, um, Sorry, my slides have suddenly stopped working. When you're in Power BI, so that is a very good example to understand for according to visual like a vocabulary, which one to go for. And the next thing I want to talk about is the conditional formatting. Why I want to talk about conditional formatting is probably one of the functionality in Power BI which has grown so much. And also conditional formatting is very important for data visualizations is because conditional formatting helps you highlight the value. And there are various things that you could do with the conditional formatting. Especially in Power BI, there are different types of conditional formatting available. Like when we say conditional formatting, it's either on tablix or matrix. It's like you could use Power BI conditional formatting, or you could use field formatting, you could use DAX functions, or you could use expression formatting. So existing ones based on like in the table or matrix, like you could use font colors or background colors, data bars, or you could be a bit more creative and reduce the sizes of the columns and stuff like that, and that way you could get a nice bars like that. Or you could use unit charts, you could use emojis, and by using bit of DAX and by using field formatting, you could do various things. But currently, it's not only limited to we are not only limited to um, that kind of one single formatting, but you can do various things. For example, I have a visual here, and now what I can do is, for example, I go to data label and I could click on my expression, and based on my expression, based on my value, I could choose how I wanted to show my value. This is probably not a great example, but like this way I could see now it's because it's a negative value, it's showing as red. So there is a lot of formatting available in Power BI, and using the conditional formatting, you can do really good things. For example, if you look at this Power BI report, what I did here is I'm using the conditional formatting. What I have here is a table, and I have I should be able to see my yeah. What I have here is a table, and then what I have on the top of the table is like I did a bit of formatting. So I have based on whatever I choose. For example, if I choose 2018, and I removed I'm using the same font color as the background color for my actual table headers, and instead of that I used labels um, on top of it, my dynamic labels. And then I'm using indicators, I'm using data bars, and I've increased the padding on my table. So now my this whole visual, which is a matrix visual in Power BI, looks like a completely different visual, and but it serves the purpose, like for whatever I wanted to show there. And so yeah, by using the conditional formatting functionality in Power BI, I managed to achieve this. So there is a lot of functionalities available out there by using the conditional formatting. So I would totally say use it. And as I mentioned before, there are like so many resources available out there. Financial Times is my really good way go to whenever I want to get nice solid inspiration. And especially when I want to play with open data, Financial Times gives me really good ideas. And then Pinterest and Dribble is amazing. And then there is obviously Power BI user stories gallery. And whenever you play with open data, you could always upload your Power BI models into there. So you are kind of sharing the knowledge. And Dribble is also is my go-to website. It's like us because you could go to Dribble and you could find like you could search for dashboard or visuals, and it comes up with various examples, and you can click on them, and it asking me to sign in, but like you can click on them. It gives you really nice inspiration when you're working with um it would be like it gives you really good inspiration when you're stuck, when you have as my daughter says, when you have an art block. um so there's various resources I would recommend. And just before we finish our session, some points to ponder is still like an artist. That's my favorite quote. And but whenever you're creating your visuals, your reporting pages and dashboards, always align and or use a grid layout as background. So even if you don't align completely, it kind of works out when you're using the grid layout, but now aligning is really easy in Power BI. So align your visuals and highlight important numbers. Highlighting the important numbers makes your reports look nicer, but it also makes your user happy. And when the user is happy, hard work pays off. And maintain the consistency with fonts and colors. So don't learn from these slides because something strange happened, and I just realized fonts are not really consistent. But don't learn from these slides. But in when you're creating your Power BI reports or report pages, keep the consistency with fonts and colors and the kind of visuals you're using. And there are various tools available out there. So use the tools and create background images, create layouts, create icons, and many things. And use them in the Power BI and create templates. Or if you don't want to create templates, there are so many community examples you could go and get from there. Learn, share, and enjoy. So thank you so much. I hope you learned something from this session, and I really hope I see you all very soon. And thank you so much for joining. And yeah, stay safe. Thank you.